boys and ghouls, I'm your host, Captain Myenstein, and I'm dressing up as myself to kill some college students, but when I'm not doing that, I'm here at the Stein Lair reviewing horror movies. Welcome back to my channel, where I've been dormant for the past 8 months. Sigh. Due to the current situation that we find ourselves in, I now have more time to get back into my groove. I'm still so sorry for not making any videos this year. This year I've been focusing on more things besides YouTube, and I now reached a point in that thing where I'm ready to take a break. Also, Sweet Queen did not do well last year, and I'm super sorry about that. Hopefully, this year I can get more than 2 videos for Spooky Ween 2020. It's kind of sad really to know that my first video 2020 is in June, but get ready because I'm making up for the mess I put myself in. In this video, I'll be reviewing Scream 2, the second flick in the Scream saga, directed by the late great Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. Now, my first review ever was Scream, and I promised to review this flick in late 2018. So yeah, to the people who've been waiting forever, I'm sorry, and this is the vid for you. My review for the first flick was very bad compared to my newer vids. I'll let you see why for yourself, or you might have already watched it, as it is my second most popular vid behind Piranha 3D, which I personally think is one of my worst videos, but whatever. This movie was released in 1997, almost a few days away from the 1-year anniversary of the first film's release. That could tell you something about this flick. This film was rushed into production due to the success of the first film, which was still in theaters at the time. I mean, Kevin Williamson, the writer, even had a 5-page treatment for Scary Movie 2. No, not that one. Scary Movie 2 was the original title for this flick, if it was ever to be made, as Scary Movie was the original title for Scream, at the end of the script for Scream. Kevin was groundbreaking in the fact that he had planned all along for a slasher franchise from the very beginning, when most slashers just start off as one movie that has a bunch of cash grab sequels. Also, the script for Scream 2 is one of the first to be leaked on the brand new internet, so Kevin had to create a whole new ending. Allegedly. Yeah, this whole ending rewriting business is very confusing. The production of this film was hectic. The script was rewritten often to conceal the identity of the killer. Sometimes the script for a scene was completed on the day of filming. Sometimes the actors themselves had a script with a fake ending or one of 3 endings. Wes Craven himself even had to work out underwritten scenes in the script. The end result is a film with fleshed out details in the plot, like the mystery aspect, and other details that were lacking, like the characters working on actually catching the killer. More on that later. Production was very watertight, and considering what the final reveal gave us, I feel like they should have gone with the original ending, as the ending we got has always seemed weird to me. The killers are just background characters who I didn't even know by the time I got to the end. Also, Kevin Williamson said in 2017 that the ending that was leaked was just a dummy ending, that the one that was included in the film was always going to be the one released in theaters. Even so, I'm still doubtful that he would have known that his screenplay for a slasher movie was going to be leaked on the very new internet, which a lot of people still didn't even have yet. Plus, what about all the rewrites? Why did those have to happen? Whatever. Many different titles are also thought of, including Scream Again, Scream Louder, and Scream the Sequel, before the studio decided to use the simple, underwhelming title Scream 2. Now that I look back, Scream 2 is one of the few horror series with no subtitles, just numbers after the word Scream. Now, after all of that, Scream 2 came out in December of 1997 and was another critical and box office darling, and made over $172 million as of today. But despite its box office status, does Scream 2 actually owe up to its predecessor? Well, I know it doesn't, but let's just go into the movie. Also, get ready for a lot of me saying anyway. We start the film off with 2 black, it's so sad that I had to say that, characters, Phil Stevens and Maureen Evans, played by Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett Smith, respectively. They are at a movie theater, which must have been maddening to the people who literally just sat down after probably waiting for hours to watch a 2-hour slasher flick. Maureen and Phil are going to see a movie called Stab, the movie within a movie, based on the Woodsboro murders, the book by Gail Weathers, based on the events of the first flick. Wow, that's confusing. They entered the movie theater and was Stab, which hasn't even been released yet, the only film they were showing. They enter and there is no way this theater is this active. I wish my theater was this lit. Also, they are playing Red Right Hand, which is a very prominent song in the first flick. Was this universe supposed to be so meta that it knows it's a horror movie? Also, Tori Spelling makes an appearance playing Sidney, which is satire.
Thanks to him with my luck, I guess Tori Spelling.
Maureen is an obvious satire on critics of horror films. You know, those people who judge a movie just based on the genre that the flick is a part of. Yeah, those people.
These tickets are free. Sandra Bullock is playing right down the street.
Nobody want to pay $7.50 to see some Sandra Bullock shit. That she naked.
Sandra Bullock is a wonderful actress, although her work can scare the living crap out of you, like Bird Box. Maureen, in an ironic twist, ends up liking the horror film she is watching. They sit down as the movie starts, and the scene is basically the same opening scene as the first flick with some new, dumber dialogue, new scenes, and a different actress for Casey.
I don't like games. Who is this?
Look out back. Do you see your boyfriend anywhere?
I don't even have a boyfriend right now.
I feel like this was very tedious, especially to film. How did they get the exact same voice for Ghostface in the movie? Did the police have audio files of Billy and Stu's calls? That's kind of paradoxical. Here's another aspect of the self-awareness of this movie. Everyone at the movie theater is wearing a Ghostface costume. That was a great idea, to have a bunch of people in masks that apparently no one can see through. Have you seen the actual Ghostface? With green pointy knives in a dark theater with people running, with seats that anyone can trip over while they are watching a movie about people that actually died just 2 years before this event. One of the greatest ideas since the idea to launch a world war. Now the theater is going crazy as Maureen and Phil just watch the movie. No action is about. When Maureen exits the theater and goes to get some popcorn, two girls appear out of nowhere and talk about the events of the first film for some pointless exposition.
It's not just a movie, it's a true story. All these kids got killed a couple years ago in California.
Now this is a shallow point in the film. I feel like they rely too much on the viewer's past familiarity with the first film's events. That kind of robs the film of its own story. I feel like everything in the movie happens as a result of the first film, which is supposed to happen in a sequel, but a sequel is also supposed to introduce new things into the franchise. The only thing new about this film is the fact that it is a sequel, and the fact that the killer is targeting victims with the same names as the victims of the first film. That's just a gimmick, really. When she gets back to the door, she's greeted by Phil with a Ghostface mask. Anyway, when Phil goes to the restroom, he hears some whispering in the next stall, and his nose itself decides to press his ear against the stall, and Ghostface stabs him right in the ear. How did the killer know exactly where his ear was? And who in their right mind would put their head on a restroom cubicle? Oh, forget it. If you didn't get an infection by doing that, which is about to happen, come on, it's a men's restroom. They don't know how to aim. He has one now thanks to him lying on the floor. Oh wait, he's dead. Never mind. Maureen is sitting down when Phil, or is it, sits down next to her, as Ghostface in the movie stabs Casey in the side of her breast, just like he did in the first flick. Well, she puts her hand around his waist, and she looks down in horror as her hands get covered in Phil's blood, I guess. Yep, this was actually the killer in disguise, and he stabs Maureen several times in front of 300 clueless people until she steps in front of the screen and howls as she falls to her death. End of the opening. That opening was intense, I have to say. My favorite part of it was Maureen's death sequence and how she could have been saved by 300 people and they didn't even notice her until she crawled up on the screen. Very heartbreaking. I like it, even though I wish it had characters that actually meant something to the plot, but whatever. Anyway, we cut to Sidney Prescott, the survivor and heroine of the first film, played by Neve Campbell. She's lying in her dorm room bed and she gets harassed over the phone by a deranged killer.
Who is this?
You tell me.
Corey Gillis, 5550176.
Or just a random guy named Corey. She gets up and goes on about her life as her college roommate, Hailey, is getting ready. Then a pretty convenient talk show comes up with Cotton Reary. Seriously, who names their child that? Comes up as a guest, right when Sidney's looking. If you didn't know, Cotton was the guy that Sid testified against for the alleged rape and murder of her momsies, Maureen Prescott, do you see it? And puts him in jail for a year. Yep, forgive and forget, sure. Sidney's in harassed by reporters, which really should be a sign of how reporters really act, asking personal questions just so they can get a story. It was the whole point of Rita Skeeter. J.K. Rowling knew what she was doing. When we meet Randy Meeks, the horror nerd survivor of the first film, he is in film theory, and is discussing film crap that I don't really care about. But since this is a review, I have to talk about the important things in the scene. Randy has a nerdy rival named Mickey Mouse. Wait, no, I mean Mickey. Seriously, who names a character Mickey in a slasher movie? Now, Mickey is just a side character. He isn't just introduced, so a reveal about him doesn't seem like it was just thought of at the end of production. Anyway, when they walk toward the school, they walk through the courtyard where, and I'm not joking, so many things happen in this 10-minute scene. Okay, let's knock this out of the park. Sidney is confronted by her new boyfriend, played by Jerry O'Connell, who is in Kangaroo Jack, my favorite non-horror movie. That movie is the best thing ever. Randy is jealous. I thought his borderline obsession with Sidney would have worn off after 2 years, but what do I know about how a teenage boy's heart works? Gail Weathers, played again by Courtney Cox, arrives, and of course, is chasing a story, and she bumps into Roseanne's sister, who's playing a reporter. Yeah, this character hasn't totally been thrown into this movie played by a well-known actress, just so a twist involving her doesn't seem random at all. The meetup leads to an outdoor press conference that is held on campus with the chief of police regarding the recent murders. Gail, being the reporter she is, constantly asks questions regarding the similarities between these murders and the Woodsboro ones, or specifically Casey and Steve's.
Hi, Gail Weathers, author of the Woodsboro murders. Do you think the killer will strike again?
Then, a couple of other college girls walk up and are very insensitive toward Sid, and are cruelly hiding it behind a nice facade. Oh, come on, they don't actually care about Sidney. You know, I wish they were killed. I mean, why would these characters get introduced if they weren't going to be non-essential victims? Unless they're the killers. Then, Sidney sees Dewey, played by David Arquette, standing under a tree, looking like a retarded hobo. Apparently, he traveled all the way from Woodsboro to Ohio to greet a girl who he didn't even know well just so he can see if she's okay due to the recent killings. I guess it's an association because of survival, but that's all kind of weird because, like I said, Dewey didn't even really know her well. She was just his dead sister's best friend. And Sidney Fathers is still alive too, since we see him in Scream 3, so why didn't he come out to see her? Does he not love his daughter? It's kind of a tedious way to get all the characters back quickly, introducing him again in this already overstuffed 10-minute scene. He should have been introduced later on in the story as a rogue cop and advising the other investigators, using the fact that he had already lived through one massacre to his advantage. But I didn't write this movie, so my opinions don't count. But then again, what's new? After that, Gail approaches Sidney along with Cotton, and she tries to get Sidney to do a post-jail sentence interview between her and Cotton, just so he can get his 15 minutes. Wow, people will do anything for clout. Reminds me of people I know. Anyway, Gail gets slapped again. I mean, for the first time, because in the original, she was punched by Sidney.
I'll send you a copy.
What a downgrade. Woo! Done with that. So much stuff happens in this scene, and I feel like most of the stuff could have been cut out, because Scream 2 is a 2-hour-long slasher flick. Let me remind you, most flicks don't even go beyond an hour and 30, except for those Marvel movies, especially slasher flicks. It's mind-boggling to think about. Anyway, they later go to a party at a sorority owned by those girls from the earlier scene, where nothing important to the plot happens, until we meet Cece, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, after her role in I Know What You Did Last Summer, and before her groundbreaking role as Daphne Blake in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. Wow, the 90s were really her decade. Now that I think about it, it's funny that Matthew Lillard played in the first movie and Sarah in this, when they both went on to play as two members of the human part of Mystery Inc. Lots of Scooby-Doo trivia in this video. Wow. She's sitting on her couch talking on the phone about Party of Five.
No, they broke up again. Really? Sarah found out that Bailey slept with Gwen. She dumped him like 2 episodes ago.
Which is pretty ironic since Nev Campbell played one of the main characters on that show, but it also consequently breaks his film's universe in half. They should really think about that before making their films. Anyway, Ghostface calls her and does his usual thing, sweet-talking his way into making his victim get comfortable, until he drops the bombshell.
Yeah, and I'm impatient. Look, do you want to leave a message for someone?
Do you want to die tonight, Cece?
Ghostface, that is no way to talk to a lady. We get a usual horror scene in which the victim walks around her house for some reason, until Ghostface pops out and chases Cece all around, until he catches her and throws her off the balcony. Whoa, he just threw one of the most popular actresses of the 90s off the roof. That's a guts. I wonder why Sarah Michelle Gellar signed on to this movie. Apparently just because of the success of the first film. Fun. Now we go back to the party. Most of the guests have left to check out Cece's dead body, which is weird, even the original, and is basically another way to get Sidney alone, just like the third act of the first film. Sidney is feeling creeped out, I guess, so she gets Jerry O'Connell to drive her home. However, when she grabs her jean jacket, very fashionable in the 90s, she soon hears a telephone ring. It's probably just one of the friends of the house owners.
Hello?
Hello, Sidney.
Oh no, it's Ghostface! Totally didn't see that coming. Wait, did she just answer a phone that wasn't even hers? That was not something I would personally do in her situation. Anyway, Ghostface does his usual thing, chasing Sidney throughout the house, being a scary, threatening killer by tripping over teens that have been there since before he was even in the house. Have Billy and Stu become ghost zombies? Well, now we know that a copycat killer is on the loose killing college students, and just like in the previous film, Sidney is the killer's main target. Now let's get to the fun part of this video. The heart of the Scream saga, beyond the meta stuff and even the kills themselves, is their Agatha Christie style mystery subplots. The main thing these films focus on is who the killer identity is, rather than the killer killing his victim.
If the killer really is watching and relishing every minute, then he'd be here on these tapes, right? At each crime scene.
That is partly why Scream is set apart from other slashers of its era. Usually, slasher films are all about the kills, that's what slasher means, and some other pointless crap to pad out the runtime. But Scream actually has stuff that matters in the overall story. Sure, there are still gory, not really, deaths, but things like Sid's mother's death, Sid and exonerating Cotton, and Sid's mother and Billy's father being together, all that stuff plays a bigger role in the story of the series. So basically, everything is Marine's fault. So basically, Scream 2 is a pioneer in the mystery aspect of the series. Most of this flick is spent on the character trying to figure out who the killer is, instead of, actually trying to stop the killer from killing more people. So it's this movie that dictates how the killer will move forward from being a bumbling slasher who loves both horror flicks and taunting his victims over the phone. Also because Billy and Stu are both dead. No joke though, there is an hour in the film where literally no one dies. It's cool that Scream 2 focuses on the mystery, but I feel like the flick doesn't do a well enough job of setting up the new killer as a formidable villain. In the first flick, I was on the edge of my seat the first time I saw it, because the film does a good job of establishing Ghostface as a deadly threat. Besides the trademark phone calls, a brief appearance at Sidney's theater rehearsal, and somehow IMing Sidney on an outdated computer that was popular in the 80s, Ghostface doesn't even really appear for most of the movie. However, the characters for some reason barely feel like they're afraid of Ghostface just because they already survived a massacre, like they aren't afraid of dying. That does not help Ghostface's threat in my eyes.
Jesus, what a rat-looking, homo-repressed mama's boy.
The killer in this film also feels like an exact replica of Billy and Stu. The gore in this flick is more than the original, but it still isn't a lot compared to other slashers, even though we have a whole scene in the flick in which Randy states that horror sequels have more carnage.
Are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore. Carnage, candy. Your core audience just expects it.
Ironically, the kills don't get more bloody after Cece's murder, and that barely had any blood, except for the cool knife cleaning thing. A bit of trivia here. After the MPAA bashed Wes Craven for Scream 1's excessive blood and gore, Craven decided that he wasn't going to take any chances, and made an ultraviolet version of Scream 2, and tricked the MPAA by submitting that cut. And apparently he'd always intended to use the version we got, but in an ironic twist, the MPAA was fine with the violent cut, but Craven just released the tamer cut anyway. That's unfortunate. What was the man thinking? I wish he went with the violent cut, especially since Randy says that horror sequels like Halloween 2 were bloodier and more violent than the original film. And plus, it would have been more satisfying to see Ghostface commit more carnage.
Death scenes are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore. Carnage, candy. Your core audience just expects it.
Does France exist in the same world as Scream? There's a paradox waiting to be explored. Anyway, that was a tangent. The two next kills of major characters happen off-screen, except for one mirror shot of the knife that's killing, and the first kill of the final stretch happens to unimportant cop characters after making a gay joke.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Kinda weird. But the car crash is awesome, with great effects for the death that happens, and I wish it happened to an actual character I know the name of. Scream 2 focuses too heavily on establishing a mystery, with obvious red herrings planted throughout the flick. Cotton can't be the killer, because why would he kill people and then either die or get put away in prison before getting his 15? And Jerry O'Connell has this weird song and dance number that isn't intimidating at all. I hope he dies. This flick doesn't handle the mystery well. It's too worried about making you suspicious of everyone. However, one part of Scream 2 that shines is the way they treat the main trio, Sidney, Gail, and Dewey. Most slashes focus on the killer's killing, but Scream is more of a character study, examining how people deal with a deranged killer targeting them and their friends. Ghostface as a villain kinda sucks, but that was the purpose, I guess, to show that he was still a regular human at the end of the day. Sidney, our heroine, is a much better character in this flick. She advances more than just being the final girl Laurie Strode surrogate. In the beginning of this flick, it seems that Sidney has moved past the dramas of Woodsboro, but when the murders start again, it's immediately obvious that Sidney is still scarred by Billy and Sue's rampage. Sidney is more of a fighter in this movie, not trusting anyone at first sight, and she's put on guard and is ready to fight back against her past coming back to haunt her. Nels Campbell's performance as Sidney is great in this film, portraying her as this girl who is stronger after almost being killed, but is still broken up over the horrors of her past. David Arquette and Courtney Cox, a real-life former couple, have great chemistry on screen and do a good job of showing the beginning of their relationship. Dewey is still a bumbling man who is cringy at times, and Gail has, in the beginning, seemed to revert back to her selfish ways, but as her and Dewey get closer and closer to solving the mystery, she is trying really hard to be selfless. They are perfect as an eccentric pair who play off each other's differences. It's obvious that the true heart of the story is the characters, and a lot of all four movies are just melodramatic subplots, but they still play a bigger role in advancing the characters' arcs. In fact, most of Kevin Williams' properties are like that. Okay, before I get to the ending, thanks Aiden because this video is already super long, I'm just gonna say that Scream 2's score and soundtrack are fantastic. I can say that I think the theme for this flick is She Said by Collective Soul, a medium-paced ballad that I listened to far more times than I care to admit. The flick also has Red Right Hand Again, which is probably the theme of the series, since the lyrics sounds like they could actually be about Ghostface. The score by Marco Beltrami, with bits and pieces by Danny Elfman and Hans Zimmer, is great, with chase music that is energetic and suspenseful like CC's creep scene, and is slow and brooding like the scene backstage with Sidney and Jerry O'Connell. Also, Dewey's theme perfectly encapsulates his personality, with piano and charming sound effects that heavily remind you of Dewey. However, the score for the Scream series lacks any real theme. The closest it comes to is Trouble in Woodsboro. That's sad, really. Okay, spoilers galore. Skip to this time code to skip to my overall thoughts on the ending. I have a lot to say, so beware, you're in for a scare. Not really, just go. Alright, let's just go over some of the key plot points. Randy gets a call on a small cell phone, surprising, by Ghostface and is killed for berating Billy Loomis. Well, he's dead. Kinda sad to see him go, but whatever. Actually, this is one of the most controversial things in the entire series. But honestly, Randy was never my favorite character, so it's fine with me if they decided to kill him off. After breaking into the school's auditorium, Dewey is murdered by Ghostface, stabbed in the back fatally. He can't survive that, it's impossible. The killer hit a vital organ. Jerry O'Connor becomes a new Jesus Christ and is hazed, putting him in the perfect position to get thoroughly butchered. Ghostface hijacks the cop car that is escorting Sid and Hallie to some place, and he crashes the car, destroying the cop characters. Well, that totally wasn't a reckless teenager. Sid and Hallie get through the locked car by climbing over Ghostface's lap. Betty wasn't even asleep for that, and get away. However, Sidney decides to play into the dumb final girl trope that she has worked so hard to overcome by going back to see who the killer is. Oh no, he's gone! Wait, how did he make it out without them noticing? Surely they would have heard something. Whatever. Hallie gets killed by lame chest stabs with a weird sound effect like she has breast implants. God. Cotton comes out of a door in the school and scares Gail, and is literally the biggest red herring. Gail runs into the reporter character, whose name I do not know. Sidney runs away, and Ghostface doesn't go after her. Huh, that's weird. It isn't like he's a college student and knows exactly where she's gonna go. Anyway, Sidney very stupidly goes back to campus where Ghostface would follow her, obviously, and she enters the theater in which she hears creepy music. This is a trap. How she doesn't see it, I don't know. Sidney finds Jerry, hanging on a crucifix and tries to help him down, but they are both stopped by Ghostface, who changes his voice changer from the cool, scary Roger Jackson voice to a regular human voice.
Don't you know history repeats itself? Sid?
Huh, I've never heard that voice before. Then he takes off the mask to reveal... Who is that? Oh, the nerdy film theory kid, who has not appeared since the infamous Top Gun scene. It's weird that he's the killer because we barely know anything about him. Well, it was a surprise, certainly. Honestly, any character could have been revealed to be the killer to the same exact effect. Anyway, the second killer comes out to diminish the craziness. Gail. Wait, no, it's some extra. No, sir, it's Roseanne's sister. Wait, really? Yeah. Oh my god, I forgot she existed. Anyway, what's her name? Debbie Salt, sir. Oh, right, Debbie is revealed to be Billy Loomis's mother,
Mrs. Loomis?
who is avenging the self-defensive murder of her son by Sidney. It's kind of like Pamela Voorhees, except less cooler. This is a kind of good idea, but the thing wrong with it is that Debbie wasn't really established as a character all that well in this film. She should have popped up at regular intervals and made more of an impact upon the rest of the movie. Even though it was an obvious twist, Billy and Stu were main characters who played a major role in the first film, which earned their reveal in the end of the flick.
Tell that to Cotton Weary. You wouldn't believe how easy he was to frame.
It seems that the makers of Scream 2 were so afraid that the ending would leak again that the killers were left in the background of the flick. That sucks to me. Mickey as the killer makes no sense either, since he said he intended to get caught by the police and blame horror flicks for his murders.
It hasn't been done before. You see, this is just the beginning.
But later on, Debbie says she compensated Mickey as an accomplice by paying his college tuition.
Yeah, well, had to have financing. Tuition's expensive. Deb there, my backer. We met on the internet, psycho website, classifieds.
That makes no sense and is a major character flaw. And why would he attend a class that discusses films ostentatiously and isn't even the class that Sidney attends? Probably to blend in, sir. Shut up and go back to your dungeon. Anyway, Debbie kills Mickey with a shot to the chest. Yeah, kill the guy who could help you murder your last two victims. Good plan. Okay, so the original ending that was leaked supposedly involved Jerry O'Connell and Hallie as her accomplice killers, a straight version of Billy and Sue's bromance. Also, Cotton was also supposed to become a killer, battling out with Sidney, leading to them both being killed. Kevin Williamson has recently said that the ending was fake, but I'm not sure what to believe. That ending would have felt like it was the same thing as the first flick, but it would have been better than having peripheral characters as the killers. Honestly, I feel like this scene is what led to the formulaic finale scene that would play the other two films. The killer ditching the knife like a dummy and going on an excessive monologue, giving Sidney enough time to think through her plan and escape the clutches of the killers. They were so good at just stabbing people, but then they decided to bring out a gun? Ugh, just stupid. Even more of a dumb idea, they plan to shoot Sidney with the gun, but they just end up telling them their motive and let her escape. Jesus, let's just get on to the next plot point. Debbie, I'm just gonna call her Mrs. Loomis, because she does not have my respect enough for me to call her by her birth name. Anyway, Mrs. Loomis eventually has Sid at knife point, which should have been her first move, but Cotton arrives to save the day, after somehow washing off the tons of blood that was originally on him, apparently. Mrs. Loomis tries to reason with Cotton and begs him to let her kill Sid by bribing him with his 15. And Cotton, like the degenerate he is, almost seems to liken to the idea, before Sidney promises to go to an interview with Diane Sawyer.
Consider it done.
And he shoots both Sidney and Mrs. Loomis, the latter in the middle of her throat. Oh wait, Sidney is alive and well, and so is Gail apparently, even after getting shot in the kidney, I suppose. Mickey comes back with one last scare, but Sid and Gail lay him down like they're TSA. And, in a smart move I guess, Sidney double taps Mrs. Loomis and shoots her in the head. So, Sid lives, Cotton gets his 15, and apparently Dewey also survived. Yeah, I don't know how he came back from a backstab with that much blood, and it's the first sign of the fact that the trio was thoroughly protected by plot armor. I mean, I'm fine with him surviving, but he got stabbed in vital organs. Whatever, Sid walks off somewhere with She Said being in the end credit song. Scream 2 is a solid horror sequel, with good scenes, a great score, and well-done performances. But the horror of the flick isn't handled well, the kills were very tame, the mystery isn't all that well done, and the ending is very bad compared to the rest of the flick. However, this film is a well-done sequel and will always be here to show just how much Wes Craven changed the horror genre. Also, news has come out recently that a 5th Scream film is being released, and David Arquette is returning as Dewey. I am looking forward to seeing how they handle this flick and how they honor Wes Craven's legacy. I give Scream 2 a high captain's gift. I'm feeling a little woozy here! If you like this video, like it, but if you loved it, make sure you subscribe to me, Captain Myenstein. Make sure you follow my social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Captain Myenstein. Also, hit that bell icon so you get notified when streams go live and new videos get uploaded. I hope your nightmares are plentiful, and make sure you come back next time for another episode of The Captain Myenstein Show.